And I wanted you guys to get a chance to hear the kind of things that I hear and the insights that I get when we're working with them to design products. And I couldn't think of a better person to sort of lead that discussion than another one of our athletes, Anthony Vela. Anthony's a former Carolina Cup champion and noted paddle surfer, and all-around nice guy. So we hope you enjoy our products, and we hope you enjoy FCS Shop Talk. And here's Anthony.
Thank you so much, Tyler. And I am Anthony Vela here with FCS Shop Talk. I have the honor of sitting here with two stand-up paddling legends already in this young sport, Candice Appleby and Danny Ching. So thank you guys for tuning in to our live webcast. We'll be answering questions that have been pre-submitted. Also, we'll be taking phone calls. And you can also tweet in with the hashtag FCSTalk13, and we'll be answering questions via Twitter. All those questions that we're answering, they get free FCS prizes. We all love prizes, and we all love FCS. So, Danny and Candice, if you can just give our viewers a quick little intro on what's been going on in your lives these past couple of weeks. So, Danny?
This past weekend, I've been training for the last few months for the Outrigger World Championships, and we held those on Sunday. It was a 5-hour race from Molokai to Oahu on single-person outriggers, and I came from behind to win by 2 seconds at the last 100 yards. So that was a big event. It's the second time I've won the World Championships for outriggers, so I was really excited. But that was still the second best thing I did that weekend. On Saturday, I proposed to my longtime girlfriend, and now I'm engaged.
Yay! Congratulations, Danny.
Thank you.
Both on the victory and on the engagement. And just want to give a shout out to Leah if you're out there watching. Congratulations on the engagement and also on your race. I believe she was 11th place in the female division for Molokai, so she's also an excellent stand-up paddler and accompanies you sometimes. Well, I don't know if she can keep up, but she does pretty good. And also here with the lovely Candice Appleby, FCS team rider. Candice, what's been going on with you these last couple weeks?
Well, a couple weeks ago I had hand surgery, so I've just been nursing that and recovering, and yesterday I got my stitches off, so that's really exciting. Working on, getting back to where I want to be and need to be, and in the meantime I've just been putting all my efforts and energies into planning and coordinating the Performance Paddling Junior Pro and Youth Sup Fiesta with you, Anthony Vela. And so I'm really excited about that. May 5th, we're going to have an awesome kids event at Bolsa Chica State Beach in Huntington Beach with a live webcast provided by SupConnect. And you'll be able to tune in or come down and watch some of the world's best young stand-up paddle surfers coming from Australia, Maui, Oahu, and we're going to have a little bit of sup surf racing and age group sup surfing. So it's going to be a really, really great event. We've been working hard, and I'm super excited about that. So check out performancepaddling.com for some more information on that. And other than that, I've just been trying to keep myself busy.
Excellent. Sounds great. And staying busy we're doing here today. We're on our second show with Sup Talk. So those viewers tuned in before, now they have a second chance again to learn from you guys, and looking forward to you guys being at the Carolina Cup coming up this weekend in North Carolina. So if anyone's tuning in out there, well, Danny and Candice are both putting on clinics out there. So let's continue on with our show. We're going to start off with a phone call. We've got a caller online that's ready to go. So I'm going to go to Aaron on the switchboard. Aaron's going to patch us through to our first caller on FCS Shop Talk, here with Danny Ching and Candice Appleby, the two most winningest Battle of the Paddle competitors. Danny, in fact, is the only athlete to win both the long distance and the technical sprint racing for the Hawaii race and for the Dana Point race in 2011, I believe. So congratulations to that on Danny. We lost our phone call, so we're going to go to a Twitter question. Brittany has tweeted in with the hashtag FCSTalk13, and Brittany wants to know, what's the most amazing wildlife encounter you've had while stand-up paddling?
Ooh, that's a fun question.
Great question.
There's been a lot of fun ones. I think one of my most memorable was probably at the Orange Bowl last year. Orange Bowl, so that would have been 2012. Before the race, there was all these manatees. Like, there was manatees literally under my board before, right at the start line. And I think there's, like, some pictures out there that someone tagged me in on Facebook. And I'm, like, hunched over on my board like a little kid looking at this manatee right before the start of the race. And that was pretty exciting, I'd have to say. A couple weeks ago, I was hanging out with the Barks at Cardiff, and a seal jumped on Jack Bark's board. And he was on, like, a really big, like, stand-up kind of prone crossover board that his dad's working on, another new invention. But the seal jumped on his board, the little baby seal, and he was just sitting there petting the little baby seal or just cruising. Like, he went to paddle for a wave, the seal jumped off, and then came back on. So that was pretty cool. I'd say the animals, for sure, are, pretty awesome, so.
Yeah, I mean, with stand-up paddling all over, you get so many different experiences, and the wildlife can be the greatest thing you can see, and it can be the scariest thing. I've seen everything from sharks to jellyfish washing across your board. Fortunately, living in Redondo Beach, just about, I'd say the last 3 summers, every summer the whales come out. And so we got a big ravine there, a big trench, and the whales come out, and it's literally a 20-minute stand-up paddle to go check out the whales, and you see them jumping and diving. And so just being out there, and you'll be paddling along, you won't see anything, and a huge whale will pop up, and it makes you feel pretty insignificant.
Yeah, I have to admit, Anthony took me to see the whales, and I was a big chicken the first time. It was all foggy, marine layer that day, and like you see these things all of a sudden. And he's like, yeah, the fin's this big, and that means the animal is this big under the water. I'm like, oh, that makes me feel really good. But yeah.
One of the great parts about our sport is getting a chance to, really become close with nature, and the vantage point from a stand-up board looking down versus any other craft we've been on, whether it's a paddleboard or a one-man or a kayak, you're just a little bit higher. So thanks for that great question about wildlife, and if you got any other wildlife stories, go ahead and send them in to SupConnect. And thanks for your question. You'll be winning a cool prize from FCS. Could be a racing leash, backpack, the ratchet tool, FCS poncho, tons of cool prizes from FCS. Looks like we've got our caller back online. We had a little bit of probably a lost call, maybe T-Mobile, AT&T, not sure, but the call is back, and we're going to go to Aaron on the switchboard.
Hi, Anthony. Are you there?
Yes, we're here. Hello.
Hi, we have Greg from Washington. Just one second. Greg, you are live.
Hey guys, this is Greg in West Seattle.
Hey, Greg.
How's it going?
Hey, Greg, this is Anthony sitting here with Candice and Danny. Are you at a shop right now? Greg, are you speaking in? If you're talking into your phone, that would help. And maybe not next to the computer. Are you at a shop right now, Greg?
So, yeah, can you guys hear me now? All right. Well, we're here in the Northwest.
Excellent.
And we're just getting our race season going.
Sounds great. Do you have any questions for these two who have been in a couple?
Is, how do you dress for cold weather paddling, cold water?
Ooh, what do you wear for cold weather paddling?
That's a good question. It's always something that I struggle with and try to figure out, because if you're, California gets cold, but doesn't really get that cold. But then once you're on the water and you're paddling, you start to sweat. So how do you get rid of layers? And, that's something that's been hard for me to figure out. But I definitely, use my sweet water pants for a base layer. They've got a really good warm base layer, and then, a long sleeve paddling top. Sometimes if I'm going training in flat water and I'm, it's really cold in the morning and I just can't take off my hoodie, I'll leave my hoodie on and I'll go paddle with it on. And then if there's, a marine buoy, I'll stick it on the marine buoy. If I get hot, I'll just tie it to the buoy for a little while and come back and get it. Or if it's really cold and, we've done races in Santa Cruz where it's super windy and choppy and freezing cold and I've had to paddle in a wetsuit, so... But those of you that are from the colder areas could probably give us better advice on what to wear when it's cold, because I'm still trying to figure that out myself.
Yeah, for me, I do parts of the year. I do a lot of training at like 6 in the morning, and so even in California, it can be pretty cold, closer to like 40, 42 degrees. And what I found is if it's flat water morning, I can wear something different than if it's rough and windy and I know I'm gonna fall in the water. If I know I'm falling in the water, I usually just bring a wetsuit, and when I'm on the board, I'm hot and sweaty, but I know if anything goes wrong, I can always swim to shore. And that's just kind of a safety thing you gotta keep an eye on. But for morning paddles, when it's flat and I know I'm close to shore, I actually do a rain shell over 1 or 2 jerseys. And that seems to be the best because it's a little bit chilly when you're standing there, but once you start warming up, it gets kind of warm and hot. If you do happen to fall in the water, it's still something you can manage to swim into and get back on your board. But for the most part, the rain shell will block the wind, it'll block most of the cold, and the heat you generate when you paddle will keep you pretty warm. So I can go out 40, 42 degrees in just a single rain shell. I usually get mine from Patagonia, and then 1 or 2 long sleeve jerseys under.
So like a windbreaker, kind of a rain shell?
Yeah, I actually ordered the pants, the Patagonia rain shell pants, and then booties. Always booties. I hate not being able to feel the board, but in about 10 minutes you can't feel your toes. So. Yeah, try it out. If you're gonna fall in the water, definitely wear a wetsuit. It's the safest thing. You can swim in it. But if you think you're gonna be dry, that rain shell, thin layer, and then you can throw some layers under there that you can take off if you need to.
And I think the best for Danny is after training and before in those early 6 o'clock sessions, he's got some really cute gloves and some Ugg boots, I believe, that he wears. So if you get a chance to train with him, I've seen the gloves, Danny. I've seen the gloves.
FCS actually has a really nice long sleeve paddle top that's really comfortable to paddle in, and it has a hood, and the neck of the hood goes pretty high. So if you do zip it all the way, it covers your neck from any kind of wind chill, and it's a really comfortable top to wear if it's if you want the sun protection or if you want a little bit of warmth.
It's a good base layer in cold weather.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Yeah. So thanks, Greg, from Mountain to Sounds Outfitter, for calling in. Anything else?
Guys. Thanks for everything you do for the sport.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thanks, Greg.
Have a good evening. Well, Greg is going to be really stoked because he may win one of those FCS paddling shirts, or perhaps some Headhunter sunscreen, or maybe some Jerry Lopez FCS fins. We've got a FCS Racing Weed fin on screen right now. That's one of the cool prizes that people that call in from the local shops and retailers that they can get. Thanks to all the shops and retailers out there that are out there selling all of your guys' stuff. You're the ones with the signature fins and boards, and without you guys out there, our sport wouldn't be possible. So thanks everyone for everything, and we're going to be going to a Twitter question. What a really cool thing we've got going here. Live webcast with Danny Ching and Candice Appleby. We're talking FCS Shop Talk here. Shop Talk, excuse me. And we've got a Twitter question coming in from Cape Cod. If you tweet in your question to hashtag FCS Talk 13, we'll answer your Twitter question with Danny or Candice. And first of all, Mosine wants to say, Danny, congrats on the OC1 win. Yeah, Danny. Everyone, dream place you've never paddled. Everyone, does that include me? Does he really want to know what I think too?
I think you just got asked.
Dream place you've never paddled.
Oh man, that's tough. You know, unfortunately, I've never paddled in Africa, and I've been most places, but I think there's some really cool regions in Africa to stand up paddle. I've seen some photos of some of the other guys going around and running rivers and dodging wildlife, and I think that would be something really cool to just check out one day and do a long adventure tour.
Nice, very nice. Candice?
I've always wanted to go to Indonesia and surf, and so I'd love to go there and surf. That's definitely one of my bucket lists. If anybody ever asks me where's the place that you want to go you haven't been, Indonesia. That's my first spot. I want to go surf the Mentawais, and it's kind of every surfer's dream to go there and surf perfect waves with your friends and have it be uncrowded. And I definitely would bring my paddle along with me. And but I'd also love to go on a sup kind of adventure. I hope in a couple years from now, Anthony got me a bow for Christmas, and so I'm learning how to shoot my bow and arrow, and I'd love to learn how to hunt and go on a stand-up adventure trip down the river, where kind of a survival trip, where I'd go and bring a couple friends and we camp and we get our own food and dodge the rapids and do the whole adventure thing. So that's another bucket list sup adventure, I guess, as well.
Excellent. I'll bring my PB&Js and to have in case we don't catch anything.
No, we're eating squirrels.
We're eating squirrels. So very, very good question. There's so many places to paddle, and I think that's one of the best parts about our sport. And for me, the best place, the dream place I've never paddled is everywhere. Honestly, places I've never been. That's what I love about this sport, is all the new places we get to travel. I mean, I went to Chattanooga, Tennessee for a race. I would have never probably gone there without this sport. And I had a great time there. There's so many amazing places, and like we talked about, amazing people in this sport. So I want to go everywhere, honestly. So thanks for your question via Twitter, and you'll receive an FCS prize. Thanks for that, and thanks to Tyler Calloway from FCS for providing those prizes. And we've got a caller that's called in, and we'll take their question, see what they've got for Danny or Candice.
Hi, Anthony. We have James from California. Just hold 1 second. Hi, James. Are you there?
I am.
You are live.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, James.
How's it going?
Oh, pretty good. Hey, I got a good question for you. I'm an avid outrigger paddler over at San Diego Outrigger, and just started getting into stand-up paddleboarding. And I noticed a difference in technique on your strokes, which I saw a few video clips. Some people tend to lunge and rotate, and then everybody at my club, we tend to twist and rotate at the core with the reach. So what I was wondering is, which technique was more desirable in a competitive manner? What I was noticing was when you're leaning over, you might be possibly hurting your back and maybe kind of porpoising the board and causing more drag and reducing your speed or performance. But I was wondering what was more or less a better technique towards stand-up paddleboarding.
Excellent. Thanks, James, who's at Surf Ride Surf Shop right now down in San Diego. Thanks, everyone at Surf Ride, for tuning in. So the question to you guys is, what sort of paddling technique do you use? And Danny, you obviously paddle outrigger canoes, so talk about the difference in the stroke and the similarities in the stroke.
Well, coming from the outrigger background, I was always taught to twist your body, so you actually take your body and you rotate it. And in some cases, this is a motion that is forgotten or not taught. And so to accomplish the same thing, if you want to reach really far and you twist your body, it helps you reach. The other way to do it is to take your whole body and lunge it forward, and that allows you to reach. What I found over the years is I always used to say you have to twist, but I found you do not. We had a question in the last show about fitness versus technique versus racing strategy, and the technique is important, but a lot of it is more style. If you twist and rotate, you're allowed to use your bigger muscles. It actually sets up your lower body, so you can include those, which are big, strong muscles that never get tired. Where if you lunge, you actually break at the hips and the whole body rolls. And now what happens is, if you are going to try and include your lower body, it's a separate motion. It's no longer connected all the way through the body. So I prefer that rotate or twist or reach or whatever you want to call it, but it's not absolutely necessary. The technique for paddling is you put the paddle in the water, you make it move really fast, and then you put it back in. And you can, it's pretty basic. You can either pull the paddle more often, or you can go further every time you pull the paddle. And fitness will allow you to do it more often, and technique will allow you to go further each stroke. So the lunge thing, there are some flaws to it in that you tend to round your back, you tend to disconnect certain muscles. It makes it harder for me personally to connect all those muscles and use them together. And so when I'm tired, it's less likely that that's going to happen. Where the rotation thing actually allows me to connect everything, so even when I'm tired and things aren't working and everything's going wrong, I at least know that my whole body's working together. So it is one of those things, it's partially technique, it's mostly style, and I've won doing both, and I've been beaten by both. So the big thing is the paddle speed is important. The way you set up your body is the way you're going to pull. So like you said, if you lunge, it could possibly hurt your back. Yes, that is true. Rotating could possibly hurt your back. I prefer it. It puts me in a more comfortable position, and it's something I'm actually trained for. But I've seen people train with a hunch lunge, you know, kind of that rolled shoulders reach, and if you train it enough, it'll work.
I love this question because we both come from two totally different backgrounds. Danny's been paddling his whole life, and he has all these different techniques that he's been taught. And stand-up paddling was my first sport with paddling. I never had a paddle in my hand before I picked up a stand-up paddle. I think maybe I tried one canoe practice in Hawaii once with the Makaha Novice B team or something. And so my perspective, I've come upon my technique naturally, just based upon what my body feels like doing on the board, and that's initially how my stroke has developed. And people have asked me this question, what about twisting? What about twisting? I don't really see you twisting that much. So-and-so twists and so-and-so twists. And I say, well, look at so-and-so. Maybe it's Danny. Maybe it's Larry Kane, who is a top, high kneel canoe paddler from Canada. He really emphasizes the twisting. What I tell people is I say, those two paddlers, those are perfect paddlers to use as an example. I say, those paddlers aren't necessarily fast stand-up paddlers solely because they twist. I think they're fast paddlers because they've been paddling their entire life. I've seen young paddlers try to incorporate this twist and they can't figure out the rhythm of it. They're trying to focus so hard on getting the twisting in and they just can't get the rhythm of it down. So for like Danny said, it's style and it's preference, and I don't think one certain little portion of technique is the be-all end-all for making you go fast. For me, I have a higher cadence of paddling, so more of the forward motion, utilizing the power phase of the stroke over and over again several times in a shorter time span is what I do really well. What Danny does really well is by reaching out really far and taking that big, powerful stroke. People's bodies are built differently, so style and all of those technique things are gonna fit into how you take your stroke and what the best way is to do it for you. So yeah, two totally different perspectives on it. It's not a bad thing. It's not the be all end all. If it works for you, use it. If it doesn't work for you, try something different.
Two very, very technical answers to a really good question. And I think something that Candice touched on that Danny also talks about in his videos is the rhythm of stroke. And I think that's a very important part in your stroke. Whichever technique that you're using, I think that both of them will attest to having some sort of rhythm with your stroke. Yep. Whatever you're doing, make sure that you're having a rhythm and something that you're used to. So James, thanks for the question, and thanks everyone at Surf Ride for tuning in. How's that for an answer for you?
Oh, that was excellent. Thanks very much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. And if you had your choice, I'm not saying that you do, what would be your dream FCS prize right now?
Since I'm new to stand-up and I just bought my wife a used board, one day I'd love to have a board. But, anything that goes along with the board would be awesome, too.
Come on, board bag.
The board bag, that's it. Definitely want to protect your investment. And FCS has board bags that we send our boards all over the world in for traveling, also day bags as well for your racing boards and for your surfboards. So thanks for calling in. You'll be winning an FCS prize, and we look forward to seeing you on the water.
Excellent. Look forward to seeing you all out there.
Bye.
What a great question.
Yeah, that was a good
You guys
question.
are so technical. This is just amazing for all of the stand-up paddling fans and friends and family out there to really get a chance to learn all the things that you guys know and think about. There's so much that goes into it. People just think, oh, look at him go. But it really is more to it than that, huh? Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Small kind.
Okay, so we're going to go to a Twitter question. You can tweet in a question at hashtag. I don't know if that's an oxymoron, but tweet in with the hashtag FCS Talk 13. And Kelly Bruce Beard has tweeted in a question for you guys. What tips do you have for developing buoy turns and getting comfortable moving around on the paddleboard? I couldn't think of two better people to ask.
This freestyling, you gotta get out there and freestyle. That is just playing around on your board, goofing off, showing off, not being afraid to fall in, try to make up tricks, paddle backwards, paddle on one foot, do buoy turns regular footed, do them goofy footed. Try and put yourself in as many different body situations as you can on your board so that when you're in the race, and somebody's knocking you off your board on accident as you're turning around a buoy and you're on one foot, you can recover because you practiced goofing around, going around the buoy on one foot when you were training, you know? So, I mean, Danny can jump over his paddle and do a 360 and all of those things, and I'm sure all of those things help you, you know, with your balance on your board, don't they?
A lot of that stuff came from freestyling, just like you said. I mean, the biggest trick to learning buoy turns and balance and stuff like that is to go put yourself in those situations. And for me, it's during the summer when the water's warm. It's on a nice stable board, so I can kind of pull off some tricks that I normally wouldn't. And the big thing I found is to use your paddle to help you balance, and not hold the paddle out like a balance, but if you take the paddle and you stick it in the water, when the paddle's planted in the water, whether you're pulling or leaning on it, it's kind of like a third leg to stand on. You get something out there to support you. So if you are playing around with these, you get a chance to practice that stuff. And when you do finally get on the board and you have that paddle in the water, you know that's your safety.
Yep.
And so my tip is, you know, practice it, like Candice said, freestyle, do that stuff. And then the other one is, you know, use your paddle as a tool to help you balance. Yep. So for me, I like to hold the paddle on my front side when I'm surfing. It allows me to fall forward, which is natural, and have something to brace on. But if you can take that paddle and you can slap it on the water, you can feel the surface tension. If you can put the paddle and pull really hard, you can feel how stable you are when you're pulling. And then the trick is to, once you take your weight off the paddle, or your paddle comes out of the water, make sure that you're standing in the center of the board. You can pretty much do anything you want as long as you have pressure on the blade. But as soon as that's coming off, you got to make sure that your weight is back on the stand-up board.
The bracing stroke
is
your best friend.
Very important. And since we're talking about buoy turns and being comfortable moving around on your paddleboard, I really have to highlight one of your teen riders, Danny, that you've saw this kid a couple of years ago, and Josh Brackett, who actually won the freestyle contest at the Race to Lake of the Sky. I was in the contest. Candice was in the contest.
We made the podium together as a tandem team. It was fun.
And this 10-year-old kid won the contest doing 360s, jumping over his paddle, all things that you taught him.
He asked me on Friday, he showed me, I did a paddle jump, and he showed me he could jump over his paddle, and then he jumped and he went back under. And so I looked at him and I was like, oh, that's cool, little kid. So I went over, I went under, and then I did a 360 paddle jump. He looked at me, he paddles to a dock, jumps on the dock, runs across as his board goes under, 360 paddle jumps, lands on the board, and paddles away. I knew that moment I was leaving. I'm not entering the freestyle contest. But yeah, some of these little kids are pretty incredible, and it's amazing. The stuff we try really hard to learn. First try, oh, we can do that. Why? Well, because he did it already, so it must be easy.
Yeah. And really, the key to all of that is just not having shame and not being afraid to fall in the water. Yep. That's really like, you know, when I learned how to turn a stand-up board around, I was like a Barney. Like I was falling. I was in Waikiki practicing in between sets, trying to do 360s, you know. Oh, where are you trying to show off? And, you know, falling every 5 seconds. Like, I'm just, you know, just try to get better. Just try to get better. And you know, don't be afraid to fall in the water. That's really the biggest tip I could say.
Yeah. And for buoy turns, you may want to practice or try different fins as well. You'll find that switching your fins out, you may be able to turn a little bit easier around buoys. So if you have a battle the paddle style race with lots of turns, maybe try a different fin. So thanks for your question. You'll be winning an FCS prize, possibly a new fin. And we've got a caller who's been on hold waiting. So Twitter questions, callers calling in. So all sorts of things happening here on the FCS Sup Talk.
Hi, Anthony. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Aaron.
Great. We have Kim calling in from Oregon. Hold 1 second. Kim, are you there? Yes, I am. You are live.
Hi, Kim. How you doing? We're here with Candice and Danny.
Hello, thanks. My question is regarding fin setup for when you're surfing. We've seen Candice and Danny both surf their race boards, which is incredible, but given the choice, what would be their preferred setup for board size and fin setup on their surf set?
Well, it's definitely going to depend for the style of surfing. For me personally, what I want to do that day. I've got lots of different boards that I like to surf on. I have a 9.0 longboard style sup that's more for the cruisy style paddling. And in that kind of a board, I'll put what's called a 2+1 setup. That means 2 small fins on the side and 1 larger center fin. For a 2+1 setup for myself, when I'm surfing longboard sup style, I'll use some of the FCS side bites that they sell for longboarding. You can find those maybe in the sup or in the longboarding section under side bites. And then I'll use a center fin that's maybe from 6 to 8 inches, depending on how big my board is. I like the dolphin fin that FCS makes. I also really like the Kai Salas fin. Kai Salas is a professional longboarder, and that's one of his signature fins. So maybe like a 7.5 inch Kai Salas fin with some side bites. Or, sometimes if you have a quad setup, a smaller rear fin for side bites works as well. If I'm doing more radical style sup surfing, I have, I ride 8.4s, I ride 8.0s or 7.11s. Those are more pointy shaped sup surfing boards. And for those, I'll either do a thruster setup, which is 3 small fins that are all the same size, or kind of in between a thruster and a 2+1, where it's a little bit bigger side bites and a small to medium center fin that's a little bit bigger than the side bites, but not, so big like a single fin. So I hope that answers your question.
That's great, thanks.
He definitely had an opinion about that. For me, I don't surf too much, but when I do, I just have like a basic 404 floater. It's kind of a beginner board, but it's a longboard shape. And it's surprisingly fun in the surf, and it's set up as a 3-fin, so the only set of surf fins that I use are the Jerry Lopez. It comes as a set of 5, but I'll set up my short surfboard as a thruster, because that's the only way it sets up. It's an 811, and I'll set up that board as a 3-fin, and it seems to work out really well, and I'm always shocked at how well those things surf. It was very new to me that how much a fin can affect the way your board surfs. So these guys helped me out a little bit, and then switching from the basic fins that come with your board to that set was a huge difference. So I think when you try out a different set of fins, you'll know immediately whether or not they're helping.
Yeah. And FCS has some really good resources on their website to help learn more about fins. You can examine some of their shortboard fins, and they have different scales that they put for your weight range and what you want the board to do as far as the drive, the pivot, the turning, and all those things. So if you go on the FCS website and you check out some of their different, some of their larger shortboard fins cross over into stand-up paddle as well, but you can really educate yourself on the difference of what fins do by going to the website and checking and comparing different fins, and checking out that little program that they have to you can put in, if you're a large, medium, small size person, what kind of waves you want to do. You can compare what the different fins how they'll perform, and that'll really teach you a lot. Fins are kind of like, they're really complex. It's like trying to tell somebody about fins in 5 minutes is like trying to educate somebody about wine in 5 minutes. There's a lot more to it than people really know, but the first step would really be determined to figure out whether or not you like a thruster setup, a 2+1, or a quad setup, and that's going to be the first thing for you to really try and figure out your style of sup surfing.
Excellent. And the best part, Kim, just like with figuring out the wine, is the more that you try all the different fins, you figure out what you like, and it's really fun trying different fins, just like it's really fun trying different wines. So thanks, Kim, for calling in from the Gorge Performance. We love coming up to the Gorge every year for the race, and Oregon's just a beautiful place. So also, Kim, you may want to try out if the Gorge Performance shop has some demo fins that you can use. A lot of shops many times that carry FCS products have actual demo sets of various fins, so that's another good option to try. So thanks again for your call. Very, very great answers from our 2 amazing athletes here, and thanks for your support. Anything else you'd like to say to these guys?
No, that's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So Kim is stoked. She's going to win an FCS prize. She's not sure what it is going to be.
Fins.
It might be fins. I believe we're giving away the Jerry Lopez fins, which you talked about. I love those fins myself. Sometimes use just the big side bites as a twin fin just for fun. Sometimes you never know.
They give me extra like special powers just because they're Jerry Lopez.
Soaking in your inner Jerry.
The Jerry Lopez honor.
Definitely no. One of the true pioneers of not only our sport, but just of, water sports in general. And I think that's one of the really cool things about stand-up paddling is how many quote-unquote hardcore surfers are really getting involved in our sport and really getting a chance to see the crossover between all the different surfing fins and, okay, let's try all these new fins in our stand-ups. And how's this fin going to work in a stand-up versus a 6'6" shortboard? So many fun things to try, and so many great products by FCS. So that's why we've got you guys here to tell everyone the answers to all their questions. And we've got a question coming in from Megan Humphrey, who tweeted in a question at #FCSTalk13. And Megan wants to know, do you do any warm-ups before a race? And she also wants to know, do you have any insight on ways to help foot cramping during a race? And she says thanks. And just so you know, Megan, this is a question that Candice actually asked Danny in between our break from our 2 shows. So
yeah, I wanted to know, how do you warm up? What are you doing before
and he
you
wouldn't tell us.
He didn't want to tell me, but now he has to tell us because you asked. So thank you. So why don't you answer first?
For warm up, the biggest thing I do for races and stuff like that is I actually will go out and paddle. I do a small routine on the beach where I just kind of loosen up the arms, and it's an old swim routine I used to do. So before big swim meets, you loosen up your arms, you do some basic calisthenics, and then for me, I actually have to go out and paddle, and it's usually 20 to 30 minutes, and it's about a 10-minute warm up. And then it's a series set, because I don't always have a watch or speed or anything like that, is I'll just do 10 strokes hard, 10 strokes easy, then 20s, then 30s, then work my way back down. And I'll do that 2 to 3 times depending on how I feel. There's a point where you're going and suddenly it goes from, oh, I'm warming up, this kind of feels awkward, nothing feels right, to, okay, I'm ready. And then at that point, I do one more piece and I stop. And that's kind of my pre-race ritual. I do that for any sport that I'm doing. I used to do it in swimming. It was 1 length, 2 length, 3 lengths, and I do it in outriggers. I do it in stand-up. And as far as the foot cramping goes, the big thing I found is during races, 1, that's your hydration, that's having endurolytes, cramps, and 2, if you're stuck standing in the exact same position the whole time, then you're going to have issues. So I actually make it a point to move my feet even a little bit every time I change sides or every time I remember it, and that allows me to kind of keep the blood flowing to the feet instead of just like locking them down and that's where they stay. So, hopefully that helps out. And I know Candice has her pre-race ritual and her strategies for cramping.
Yeah, it's pretty similar though. As far as the pre-race, a good stretch routine on the beach, and I feel like every year that kind of continues to evolve. You have your one stretching and your one core routine you do, and then the next year it's kind of different because you get bored and you want to mix it up. But definitely I have a nice stretching routine that I do to stretch the upper and lower body on the beach, and then I do a quick little jog before I do my water warm up, and it's just a short little jog on the beach just to let my heart rate go up and then kind of relax and go back down a little bit, and then I'll go out in the water and I'll do a paddle for maybe 10 to 15 minutes and assess the situation. I always tell people, wherever you go to a race, especially if it's somewhere new, always assess the situation, look at the shoreline, look at how deep the water gets and how quickly it gets deep, go see where the waves are breaking, go check out the buoys and see what the conditions are like at the buoy line. I'll always paddle out. If there's a far initial buoy, I'll always paddle out to the first buoy and check the lines on the buoy. You never know if a buoy's off to its side and it has this big, white string hanging off the side of it, and once you get out there, you don't want to get stuck on it. So kind of, partially go through the course and use that time to paddle and warm up with my paddling, assess the situation, and just get a good stretch in. And sometimes it's hard to stick to your normal routine because our sport is so everybody in our sport is so friendly and we are so accessible. So more often than not, you're getting pulled here and there before races. People asking you questions as you're putting your water pack on, oh, can you help me with my stroke technique? And it happens at just about every race, which it's fine, and I'm grateful to be able to help people. But sometimes certain things like that do take away from, you know, our individual preparations, and I'm sure that happens to Danny as well. But we continue to do the best we can to stay in our zone, and we appreciate the times when people allow us to have our zone.
So let them focus when they've got their game face on. You know when a great time to ask a question is? During the FCS Shop Talk here on SupConnect. And because so many of you are interacting with what we've got going on, we're going to actually do, and great question about stretching, we're going to go ahead and stretch for a little bit because we've got the lightning round coming up. For about 5 to 7 minutes, we are going to take a lightning round of questions where I'll ask you guys quick question for a quick answer. May just call on one of you, may call on both of you. So we are going to do a lightning round. Thank you so much for your call in. How was that for a great answer? That was a Twitter question. Yeah. Oh, tricked everyone. I wanted to see if Danny and Candice were paying attention. Thank you so much for your Twitter question, and you will receive an FCS prize. And we're going to start a lightning round. And I'm not sure if it's going to be Twitter lightning round or pre-submitted questions. So we're going to have a question from one of the many shops that are taking part in our webcast. Then you guys will give a quick answer, okay? So we're going to go 30 seconds per question and just move on to the next question. First one is coming in from Ben. He's at the Outpost of Holland. Do you use the same 12-6 board or the same 14-foot board for every race, no matter what the conditions are? Or are there several boards that you choose from to adjust to the different water conditions?
For 12-6s, the majority of the races are 12-6 for the women. And I'm pretty fortunate that the 12-6 board I have right now from Joe is very versatile and works in a majority of conditions. 14 is a whole different category for me. I know that if you're on a bigger board, I definitely would say you would need a lot more variety in flat water versus downwind. 12-6ers are smaller, so they're more versatile for using the same board for different things.
Danny?
For me, 12-6, it's usually a battle of the paddle style race, so I always use, at 404, we have the Z-Donk, and so I always use that board. It's an all-around board. It's designed for that. We also have the LTD, which is a downwind board, and the Arrow, and we have those in 12-6 and 14. So, like, this weekend, Carolina Cup, I'm bringing both, just in case.
Excellent. If you can bring both, bring both. Thanks for your Twitter question. You'll win an FCS prize. Excuse me. The next one is coming from James Rothwell at Down Under, and that's over on the East Coast. And he's wondering, how important is hydration during a race? How much do you drink during a race, and how often? And how do you drink without upsetting your rhythm and breathing?
Great question.
Great question. 30 seconds, 10 seconds per piece. Go.
Important. And hydration is very important during a race, but the pre-race hydration is the most important the day before. I like to try and get at least 2 liters of water. A gallon is great if you can drink that much the day before a race, even with a little bit of salt to retain the water.
She nailed it. As far as pre-hydration, very important. During the race, I like to carry, depending on the race, half a liter to a liter of water, and that's more that 30 minutes to an hour and a half. Anything beyond that, I'd like to carry more. And as far as drinking during the race, is I'll actually put the tube in my mouth, and then I'll keep paddling, find my rhythm, find my breathing, and then I'll drink in rhythm. And that seems to help out.
Excellent. Man, we're running through the lightning round of our questions here that have been pre-submitted. We've got Joe Slank from the Outpost of Holland. Sorry if I mispronounced your last name, but what is your favorite spot you've ever paddled, Candice? Let's start with Danny this time.
That'd be Tahiti.
Tahiti?
Tahiti. It's beautiful. The water's unbelievable. The waves are great, and the people there are so friendly.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'd say it's Tahiti, but I've never been there yet. So I'll probably say Makaha because that's my favorite place to be in the water, period.
Makaha Beach on the east side, so thanks.
The west side.
Tricking everyone out there.
I was trying to say that.
Here we go. We're going to our next pre-submitted question in our lightning round, and everyone who pre-submits your question, you are getting an FCS
we
prize.
answered too fast.
So yeah, we did answer too fast. We're waiting for our crew to put up the next question. Coming from Todd Meredith from the Outpost of Holland. How'd you get into racing, Sup? And did you play any other sports previously? And give us a quick little bio on your athletic background.
As a kid, I played softball and water polo. and started surfing when I was 9, competing at 10. So competitive surfing and water polo were my 2 sports as I got older. And then I moved to Hawaii when I was 17, started surfing more and more, then started SUP surfing, and then I got a call from Rita Noy when I was teaching fitness SUP lessons for him, and he said, hey, there's a race tomorrow, you should do it. And I said, okay, sure, I'll try it. And grabbed an 11-foot surfing SUP and did a Hawaii Kairin and Kona Winds and was hooked because everybody was just so cool. And it wasn't a subjective thing of, you know, who's the coolest looking surfer. It's who crossed the finish line, and everybody was really stoked for each other. So
awesome. Danny?
I grew up doing all the sports, soccer, baseball. I played roller hockey in high school, volleyball, swim, water polo, basketball. So I've done all of them, and I've paddled my whole life throughout that on outrigger canoes. And one day, one of the Ohana guys, Russ Coball, talked me into racing stand-up before I jumped on my outrigger. So I tried it and haven't looked back since.
Yeah. Yeah. So lots of other sports involved, and before stand-up for mostly everyone, we're on to our lightning round here. We've got a question coming in from Kurt. Kurt wants to know, since he didn't grow up surfing and his main water access is inland lakes, his balance skills are always something that he can improve. Is there something that he can do on the water or at the gym that would help improve his balance?
Yeah. Get an Indo board. Seriously. I've had an Indo board since I was 12 years old, since they first came out, and it is the best thing for surfing, for any kind of balance. It's basically a board and there's a roller and you put it on there and you tip back and forth and it feels like you're on your board. They also make these round blow-up things that you could take the fins off of your stand-up board. You get 2 of the round cushions, you put them under your board, and you can literally be on your board in your house on your carpet balancing with your paddle in your hand, or you can go buy one of those paddle things and just practice tipping back and forth, you know? And that's great for off the water balance training.
Yeah, I've done some off-the-water balance training. Kayak erg makes an awesome stand-up SUP erg, and you can actually reset the balance to make it a lot more tippy or stable, and you can get some training in when you can't get on the water. And then other than that, there's no substitute for on the water. And we went over that earlier. Warm weather, nice stable boards, don't be afraid to fall in the water. So use that paddle to help you brace.
Yep.
Excellent. Thanks, Kurt, for sending in your question. You're going to get a prize from FCS. We've got a Twitter question coming in. If you tweet in a question to hashtag FCS Talk 13, Bruce Denson has tweeted in a question. What is the best part of SUP races, he wants to know? Paddling in exotic locations around the world or just hanging out with great people?
I'd say the people. I mean, obviously it's great and beautiful to go to these places and things, but I quickly forget the beauty of the place before I would forget, you know, the beauty of a face and somebody that I got to talk to. And, you know, we go to events, and when we leave, I reflect more on the relationships that I've made. And of course we appreciate the beauty around us, and it's always such a treat, but there's nothing like a one-on-one personal interaction with somebody and making a connection and making friends, you know. So
it's definitely the people. The exotic places happen to be where those people are, which is nice. But I found there's a handful of people that travel around and do all the events, but for the most part, you have to go to these exotic places. That's where the people are. That's where you meet new people, new friends. And like we said earlier, everywhere you go, they're very accepting. They're very willing to hang out and show a smiling face.
Awesome. Great question. Great question, Bruce, and thanks for tweeting in your question. You'll be getting an FCS prize as well. Tons of stuff that we're giving away here from FCS at our Shop Talk, the first ever live webcast Shop Talk with Danny Ching and Candice Appleby, 2 of FCS top riders. FCS has a fantastic team of athletes that they use to help figure out what fins to use and the different fin systems and do all the research. So thank you guys for doing all the research for everyone out there. And we're going to go to a call.
Hi, Anthony. We have KAIPO on the line. Hold 1 second.
Hi.
KAIPO, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
You are live.
Oh, how's it, Danny and Candice?
Hey, KAIPO.
First of all, Danny, congratulations on your solo victory under some brutal conditions. You're a beast.
Thank you.
I got questions for
for each of you. So the question for Danny, what are some of the positive attributes of your SUP racing fin? Because it's pretty unique in its kind of keel style shape as opposed to a traditional raked surfing fin. And then my question for Candice is also a fin question is, Candice, do you use a different fin for downwind versus flat water?
Excellent. Specific questions for each of you.
The fin that I helped FCS with, my personal race fin, it's the one designed for the Battle of the Paddle. And what I found is that keel shape is the same shape that every flat water paddling craft in the Olympics uses, with a surfboard twist to it. So if you look at rowing shells, you look at kayaks, you look at even some of the sailboats, it's the general shape for most of the flat water paddle propelled stuff was that shape. So we started there, and then we adjusted from there because I wanted flat water speed, least amount of drag, and some trekking. And basically it worked out great. What we did is we added a little more of a kick in the back. So instead of having a straight back, it's actually kind of curved. And what happens is I found with the board that I use, the Z-Dock, it's so flat and stable in the back. When I crank a buoy turn, I can actually get the whole fin to release. And that little kind of almost divot in the back creates a little air bubble that shoots down, and I can slide the tail instead of having to turn like you would on a surfboard, set a rail, and drive off of it. And so for me, with the board design, with the way that I paddle, and for the races that I do, that was ideal for what I was looking for. Straight ahead, it tracks, it keeps me straight, it's that all around. I can surf it if I need to. And for buoy turns, which Battle of the Paddle is the biggest race that I do every year, if I can crank an extra second or two on each turn, get away from some people, that's going to be a huge, huge advantage. And it's definitely paid off in the past.
As we saw in this last Battle of the Paddle, took the lead on the buoy turn and never looked back.
Yeah. And well, for me, downwind versus flat water racing fin. I've been, like I said earlier in our previous broadcast, I've been working on a signature fin with FCS for the last year and a half, and I'm on my third and final prototype, and we have, the formula now that I think that I like the best, and we've created a fin that has, a pretty surfy looking fin. It's got a really nice rake to work really well on the buoy turns and for the surf style races. It has a little bit of a cutaway for the release on the buoy turns as well, but it's good for changing directions for surfing, when you're surfing the bumps, but it's also long enough so that it tracks well in the flat water. So that's a fin that's coming out, in 2014, and I hope everybody loves it and finds that it's as versatile as I find it to be. If I'm doing the downwinder on a larger board, then sometimes you have a rudder system, so that's going to play into the fin that I use. Or if I'm on a different style of a 14, that's also going to play a factor. But if I'm on a standard bark outline of a 14, I'm going to use the same fin that I have been designing. Other than that, sometimes I do use the Slater trout fin for downwinding because it does pivot well.
Awesome. How's that for two technical answers? These guys, they don't just go race whatever fin they've been given. They actually go through the testing. Hey, KAIPO, how you doing tonight?
Oh, we're doing good. We're over here at Blue Planet, the SUP headquarters in Honolulu, Hawaii, and things are great. And we're just waiting for the trades to come back so we can start doing some downwinds again.
Yeah.
They're still not back?
Hey, is Craig still
not back?
I'll be back in 2 weeks.
Is Robert there with you guys?
Robert's here, man. The whole crew's here.
Yeah, guys.
Shout out to the whole Blue Planet crew. Aloha. We look forward to getting back that way soon, and really appreciate you guys calling in, KAIPO. Let's say right now you had your chance of any FCS product that you can win. I'm not saying you're going to win it, but if you had your choice of FCS product right now, if Tyler Calloway was listening, what would you want to be delivered to Blue Planet with your name on it?
I gotta do 12.6 stock race board right now, so I would love a bag for that thing. FCS makes the best stand-up paddle bags out there.
12.6 race bag. You got a new race board. You're stoked, and you got tons of great information from Danny and Candice. I mean, it sounds like you got to go buy the Danny Ching fin and the Candice Appleby coming out next year, and maybe have the Spitfire fin as backup just in case you or a friend needed an extra fin. So
That's right.
Thanks for calling in again, KAIPO, and to all the crew at Blue Planet for tuning in. We'll definitely be doing this again sometime, I think. And we're going to be going to a Twitter question. But any last words for Danny or Candice? Anyone over there at Blue Planet?
Oh, we're just stoked on you guys, and more of the future, more wins in the future, and we're stoked for both of you guys right now. You make us proud every single time you win. And like I said, Danny, that I was out in the water, and that last Sunday, I couldn't believe that you guys paddled that 32 miles in those conditions. That was incredible, and an incredible finish for you guys.
Thank you. I hope you had fun surfing. It looked good.
I heard some guys are surfing weights, actually, surfing boat weights out there.
That's a whole nother subject, but again, stoked you guys are tuning in all the way from Hawaii, and we're going to go to a couple last Twitter questions for this session, but aloha everyone over there, and look forward to seeing you guys soon.
Right on. See you, KAIPO.
All right. Wow, that was really cool getting Hawaii in. We've had Oregon, Massachusetts, all the way on the East Coast, and now we're going to go to a Twitter question from Kinda Zenish. Ooh, I like it. This is a really cool hashtag at Kinda Zenish. And he or she asks, any tips on staying ready to paddle off season? Rowing isn't quite the same. Nothing is that I've found.
Paddle. Just keep paddling.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of places where you get stuck either indoors or I guess, you know, I got a lot of friends back east and in Canada, and it just freezes over completely. You can't paddle. And you know what? There is no exact substitute for paddling, but I know you can get on ergs. There's stand-up ergs. There's rowing ergs. There's all kinds of things you can do. There's what was it, the big Kahuna skateboard thing?
Yeah.
There's a lot of things you can sub in there.
Sticking or whatever it's called, paddle.
Yeah.
Land paddling. I don't know.
A lot of the people I talk with they take that time of the season to work on some of the other things that they don't normally do when it's sunny all the time and they can hit the water every day. So it's more of the gym, more of the yoga. And other than that, yeah, you got to get on the water.
The off season is a good time to build your strength and fitness base, and then once the paddling season starts again, you're fit, you're strong, and you're ready to to put in those long days of training and the long miles. So.
Yeah, and I just have a quick question. When is the off season for you guys, actually?
Right now.
Is there an off season?
It's right now. I get a 6-week off season.
Well, thanks for your question. You'll be winning an FCS prize, and get out there and paddle. No matter what you've got to wear, just put on some warm clothes and some dry gear and get out there. We're going to go to Ty Mooser, I believe, who has sent in a Twitter question to hashtag FCS Talk 13. And he wants to know, what are the 2 hardest races you've done? And you can't say the one that you just did. 2 hardest stand-up...
last weekend?
Doesn't count. Stand-up paddle races. 2 hardest that you've done. Ooh. Not just 1, but 2.
That is a very good question.
One at a time?
I'll tell you, the Carolina Cup is a grueling race. That elite course, the Graveyard. There's a reason they call it the Graveyard. That race is 14 miles. There's wind, it's side wind, it's headwind, it's flat water, it's rough. And right at the point when you get, for last year, it was perfectly lined up downwind surf. You're about 2 hours into your race and you can't feel your legs. So that one was definitely one of the tougher ones I've done.
How about you, Candice?
Yeah. Well, Molokai is always a tough race. I've done Molokai a couple times, and that's it's definitely a physical challenge. But I think it's I don't know if it's as much a mental challenge as it is a physical challenge. I think just staying focused the whole time, and even just the mental strength to stick to the preparation and the training and all of those things. But there's been a couple races that have been pretty rough conditions. The Surf Tech shootout a couple years ago, it was hailing 5 minutes before the race, so we went to pick up our boards off the beach, and there's ice cubes on our boards, and we're going out to race in 4-3 wetsuits, and we're not even hot in our wetsuit. We're freezing still, so that was pretty challenging. And Of course, the battle of the paddle is always a challenge, and that's a really great question. And I know I'm gonna think of something after the show that's like, oh no, wait, that race was the hardest race that I've ever done.
I think you hit it on the head. The battle of the paddle, the elite race, it might not be the most physically demanding because it is kind of short. But then again, you got to pack a little bit of extra into the short distances you do, and with everything that that can go wrong in that race, from the surf to other competitors to you make one mistake, it's not really long enough to make a mistake and come back. I think as a whole, that's probably the hardest race to do, physically, mentally, and you definitely got to get a little lucky with the waves.
So, how many battles of the paddle have you won, Danny?
Elite races.
Elite races. This is not including the distance, just elite battle of the paddle victories.
I have 1 in Hawaii and 2 in California.
That's 3. Okay, Candice?
2 in Hawaii and 2 in California.
That's 4. That's a total of 7 with my math. I am sitting here next to 7 Battle of the Paddle championships. That's pretty cool for me. And these are the 2 winningest Battle of the Paddle competitors in the world. So that's a pretty cool thing. And you heard it from them. That's one of the hardest races of the year. And we're going to go to our last Twitter question. And I believe it was, what was it? Paddling Zen or something that just tweeted in. That wins a prize.
Kinda Zen.
Kinda Zen? I forget.
Kinda something.
Something. So thank you, Zen Paddle, for tweeting in. And we've got our last Twitter question. And how cool, it's coming in from a young Grom FCS team rider. And Ryan Maloney tweets in. And he wants to know, when do you decide to use a leash on your race board?
This is a great question. Well, sometimes it's mandatory. So if it's mandatory... Don't argue with the race director, because that doesn't help you before the race.
Not that she's ever done that. Just put the
leash on your board. But if it's not mandatory, a good rule of thumb, which is something that Anthony actually shares a lot when we do clinics for people, is that wear a leash. If you're not comfortable swimming in from as far as you are out, whether or not you're paddling the Molokai Channel or you're paddling just off the shoreline, if your leash, if your board was to break and you had nothing else but you paddling in, and you're not connected to your board, you need to be competent swimming in from however far out you are. If you're not competent swimming in from however far out you are, you should have a leash on your board at all times. That's, for me, the rule of thumb. I was taught to surf without a leash when I was a kid, and I was taught to swim after my board and to not lose my board. So for me, personal preference is I don't like to wear a leash if I don't have to wear a leash. But I'm never going to wear a leash. I'm never going to not wear a leash if I'm not comfortable swimming in from wherever I am, even if that's the Molokai, if I'm in the middle of the Molokai Channel.
Yeah, that's huge. For me, anytime I do a downwinder, just because I don't want to swim the downwinder, even if I know I can swim in. So anytime it's windy out, I'll put a leash on my board. And then the other time is, like you said, if you're going to be far enough away or the weather says, hey, you can't swim to shore, whether it's 10 feet and freezing cold or 10 miles and, you can float the whole way. If I'm not comfortable swimming in, I'm wearing a leash. And then I actually wear a leash every time I stand up surfing the surf if there's someone else out there. Just out of respect, and sometimes I do make mistakes.
And thanks for the question. Big shout out to Ryan Maloney. He's one of our performance paddling competition team members, and he'll be surfing at the Junior Pro and Youth Sup Fiesta coming up in a week and a half from now. So
yeah, it should be a great event. We're looking forward to that, and looking forward to having a chance to get down and to sit down with you guys and chat again and bring it to everyone live on this webcast from SupConnect. So thanks to SupConnect and of course to FCS, Tyler Calloway, everyone at FCS who's making this thing happen for all of you guys out there to really get a chance to pick their brains. I mean, how much did we learn today, or how much did I learn? I got to sit through 2 shows, so we're going to wrap up here with our second session. So we're going to give some last remarks from you guys. Anything you want to say to all of the people that are out there watching you, beginning paddlers, intermediate paddlers, advanced paddlers, some last words from the most winningest battle of the paddle, stand-up paddlers in the galaxy.
Thank you so much for tuning in, and just continue to have fun, and thanks for supporting our sport and our lifestyle, and your support allows us to have a profession that we love, and we get to go and do things that are really cool and meet awesome people. So I'm very grateful for all of that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys to everyone who called in, to Andre and Supconnect, and to Tyler from FCS, and hopefully I'll see you guys soon. We'll be in Carolina Cup this weekend, doing some clinics and showing off all the new toys.
Yes. I'm trying to sign up for the Danny Ching Clinic myself. Learned so much today. So again, thanks everyone for sending in all your questions that were pre-submitted and via Twitter, and also for everyone who called in. We had calls from all over the place. It was really exciting and just shows the capabilities of these guys and what we can do with these live webcasts. So as we're winding down, let's look at some of the cool prizes that these guys will get a chance to win. Ooh, Jerry Lopez fins right there. I love the Jerry Lopez fins. Oh, Slater Trout fin. Oh, those tie downs that we were talking about earlier.
Paddle bags. Oh, I love that race leash.
See, FCS weed fin. Spitfire for downwinding.
There's the Danny Ching fin.
Slater Trout fin. Ooh, board bag. Everyone wanted the board bags, the FCS board bags. Oh, I love the chamois towel. Dries you off quick. The dry bag right there. Put all your stuff. Roller bag. Great for traveling. That's the Trekker, I believe. The Trekker backpack. Fin wallet. I'm good. I'm winning you guys in all this. That's the change mat.
If we're competing, then it's another story.
We're competing. Let's go. Ready? Go.
Dolphin, 7.5-inch fin.
Oh, tailgate pads. 3D fins.
Oh, no.
That says it on there.
3D red tip. I can read too. 3D red tip. What else? Oh, Danny Ching. We both said Danny Ching. We're such fans, Danny. Congrats on your engagement. Congrats on your Molokai win. And Candice, get well soon. I know all of your fans want to see you on the water. And we're out.